Welcome in. This is Chiefs Chase. My name is Mike Bassano, and thank you so much for joining me as the Kansas City Chiefs are 4-3.
He looks left, throws left, and it is caught by Rice.
The Chiefs beat the Raiders 31-0 at Arrowhead. A shutout. The first shutout since 2011. The first shutout of Andy Reid's career. Absolute, complete, and total destruction for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that say, well, this is just the Raiders. What about next week? I had people asking me about the Commanders in the second quarter. But take a step back, because we'll get to the Commanders later in the show. I promise you. But take a step back and really appreciate what just happened today. Really appreciate the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs came out and they played against a team that they knew they were supposed to beat. That everyone in the NFL knew they're supposed to beat this team. And not only did they beat them, they crushed them from beginning to end. To the point where Pete Carroll looked like he was playing to try to keep the score from looking as good as it possibly could be from the very beginning of the game. So you have to remember that. When we talk about this game, keep in mind the Kansas City Chiefs went out against a team they were supposed to dominate, and they did to the highest possible degree. A lot of people are going to discount that. They already are. In fact, one of the craziest things, but we have a new head of the MVP race. We'll tell you who that is coming up in a few minutes. But first, the number one thing I have to get to is that the Kansas City Chiefs won this game 31-0. And I still have to sit here and listen to people talk about the referees in a 31-0 victory. Make that make sense to me. How in the world do I still hear about the referees when the Chiefs win by over 4 touchdowns? Is it because people are just that pathetic in life? Because it's really starting to feel that way, guys. It's starting to feel like a bunch of pathetic human beings with nothing better to do just sit there with these weird, grainy films of plays they think they could possibly pass off as penalties that weren't called. But that's not what happened today. If you watched the Chiefs and Raiders, which my guess is people who are not Chiefs or Raiders fans probably didn't watch that game. But you surely will see people online completely manipulating you into thinking that the refs somehow scored 31 unanswered points in an entire football game. It's infuriating to have to sit here every week and defend a team that right now looks like the most unstoppable force in the entire NFL. To sit here and have to defend a 3-time Super Bowl champion head coach and quarterback and have to have people constantly troll the team under false pretenses. And when I say false pretenses, this is what I mean. People say, oh, well, the Chiefs, the NFL has the game rigged for the Chiefs. The Chiefs get calls and they get held up by the refs. People say all this stuff, but the little secret that they won't let you in on is the vast majority of these people don't actually believe that garbage. They're just peddling it because it's fun and people enjoy it and it's great to try to cut down greatness. The New England Patriots under Tom Brady and Bill Belichick were cheaters. Legitimate, dirty cheaters. We have proof of that. The NFL suspended Tom Brady for cheating. They fined the New England Patriots for Spygate. They have confirmed that the Patriots are cheaters. Yet still, on a week-in, week-out basis, the Patriots never had to deal with it the way that we have to deal with it. The Patriots never had to live through the absolute idiocy that we constantly have to live through as Chiefs fans. They don't have to live through The constant discrediting of wins that happens every single week for the Kansas City Chiefs. So even with a 31-0 victory, I still have to hear you losers tell me all about how you feel the referees are really the reason for everything, man. It's really not that the Chiefs did anything. It's that they're just propped up by the league. Imagine listening to someone like that and calling them anything other than an idiot. Because that's what some of you are doing. And I realize I'm feeding into it. I'm not ignorant to that fact. I'm responding to it. But I got to tell you, I'm not a high road guy. I'm just not. I'll come right down to the lower road with you if that's where you want to go. And clearly, that's where every fan base wants to go. So we're here. Great officiating in this game, by the way, and great officiating against the Lions. And the Chiefs won those games by multiple scores. So this idea that somehow the Chiefs are getting propped up is not only false, it's damaging to the NFL. The NFL should take action against people who try to say that the game is rigged and try to act like the Chiefs are getting preferential calls because it's bad for the league. It makes the league, I don't know if it makes it's a detriment to the league to have so many people seemingly with some credibility coming out and saying that the league is making calls for the Chiefs. That's something the NFL should stop as quickly as possible because it is false. It's false information being given out to people. And call me crazy, but I feel like false information being consistently given to people is something we should all strive to get rid of, correct? Am I alone in this?
Yes, this is a hitch route. He's going to go ahead and keep Devin White right here. Sorry.
And I'll move on from the referees, but just one more thing. The reason this gets my goat, the reason I get so fired up about all this, what's so upsetting about everyone trying to discount the Chiefs winning by using the refs, by calling the NFL rigged, by finding any possible thing they can to discount what the Chiefs have accomplished is that it's taking away from the greatest run in the history of the NFL. Because not only have the Chiefs been in every AFC championship game since the 2018 season, but they aren't anywhere close to stopping. So we are currently witnessing the greatest run in the history of football. And so many people are trying to cut that down, and it's absolutely disgusting. Almost as disgusting as the dirty plays the Raiders used to injure Omar Norman Lott today. And we'll get to that in later. We'll get more into that later because that fired me up, man. If you were on the live, you know exactly what that's about. I was ticked off. In fact, we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But first, Patrick Mahomes is going to win his third MVP. It is already written. You can see it in his eyes. You can see it in his body language. You can see it in the way that Patrick Mahomes is carrying himself on a game-to-game basis and on a play-to-play basis. Mahomes has the opportunity to win his third MVP this year, and I think he's going to do it. Baker Mayfield's in the conversation. You have other guys in the conversation too, people who are playing very well in this league. But when you watch what Patrick Mahomes has done, I don't think there should be one other name on your MVP ballot at this moment than Patrick Mahomes. He is more accurate than he's ever been. And he keeps stringing together MVP performance after MVP performance. He had 4 touchdowns last week, 3 touchdowns this week. He hasn't turned the ball over either of those times. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 286 yards passing on 26 of 35. An absolutely dynamic and incredible performance by a guy that people still find a way to underestimate. And I'll never understand that. How anyone could underestimate the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, how they could look at him and not understand how incredibly special this player is. That no-look pass to Rashee Rice was something beautiful. You go into a situation where you see something like that and you have anything other than good things to say, I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know how to talk to you. That, if you want to talk about what a hater is, and I think hater oftentimes gets overused, just in the world, right? Oh, this guy's a hater. You said something. You gave me somebody who gives you like constructive criticism. We call them haters now. But if you're criticizing Patrick Mahomes today, you're a hater. And there is no other word for you because that man is en route to his third MVP this season. Whether you like it or not, whether the NFL likes it or not. They could call it boring for the league because the Chiefs are always on top. It doesn't matter because that's what happens when you are in the presence of actual greatness. And that's what Patrick Mahomes is right now. He is actual greatness. He is an unstoppable force tearing his way through the NFL, and there is no sign of him stopping. That's got to get you fired up, man. I'm fired up about it. And I'm telling you this, that play where Mahomes pretended that the Chiefs were trying to draw them off sides, like, oh man, this stuff never effing works. That's just a cherry on top of the greatest player in the history of time, Patrick Mahomes. The guy that can not only make all the throws, not only tear your defense apart and pick your zone apart with ease, and not only can he run with his legs, but he can also use his brain to throw you off kilter, get a first down. And that is not only the mark of greatness, but the mark of someone who is better than anyone we've ever seen before. That is Patrick Mahomes. Now, there's a new mantra surrounding the Kansas City Chiefs, which I think is fantastic. And it's one that really came into focus today in a massive way. It did. We'll get to that coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, I'm really upset about this thing that we're going to discuss next. Omar Norman Lott goes down with an injury where there was a personal foul penalty called on Stone Forsythe because he intentionally hurt him. The Raiders are intentionally hurting Chiefs players. You have Stone Forsythe jumping down on top of Omar Norman Lott after he's already on the ground, and Norman Lott has to leave with an injury. That is so pathetic on every single level. How sad are you as a human being, not just as a football player, but as a human being, to try to take somebody's livelihood out? You're an awful person. And you know what? At this point, you almost expect it from the Raiders. Because why? They're Raiders. I've been a Chiefs fan since I was born, so I am very much acquainted with how trash the Raiders are as a team, as an organization, and every single person, top to bottom there in Las Vegas, is absolute garbage. But to see Forsythe purposely hurt Norman Lott, and then see all these people from other fan bases celebrating it because they hate the Chiefs so much, if that doesn't show you that it's Kansas City versus everybody and we should just walk around with both middle fingers extended at all times, then I don't know what's going to show you it. Because now it's on. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. Say anything. But you start hurting people purposely, now it's on. It's Kansas City versus everybody, and I don't care what has to happen. Right now, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, and I understand that upsets the trash losers in Las Vegas, but the fact is, you either can deal with it or you can get dealt with. And Andy Reid's dealing with it. Andy Reid's version of having it dealt with, he pulled all the starters. If you were watching the live, I wanted Andy to pull all the starters when it was 28-0, because on that touchdown drive to make it 28-0, the Raiders already took 2 cheap shots, one on Xavier Worthy and one on Isaiah Pacheco on the touchdown run. So I already saw it coming, and I knew these idiots are going to hurt somebody, and then they did it. And then Andy Reid pulled everybody off. I knew it was overzealous to want to pull everybody off at 28-0, but that's only because I know who the trash Raiders are, man. I know who they are. They've been garbage for their entire existence. Why would it ever change now where the Raiders would suddenly not be total garbage? As an organization, as a team, as a fan base, across the board, the Raiders are an absolute joke. Nobody takes them seriously. They're known for nothing but being violent. And in the end, they always lose because that's what they are. Losers. And I hope the NFL does something, because otherwise, what does Roger Goodell do here? Why does Roger Goodell exist if stuff like this is allowed to happen? Explain that one to me, Roger. Why do you exist? Why does your job happen if you're going to sit there and do nothing while the player intentionally injures another player? Explain that one at your sorry-ass meeting. And I'll move on from it. Because that really ticks me off, man. That makes me mad more than anything I could ever possibly imagine. I don't care if, like, when I get mad about, like, the Chiefs not getting a call and stuff like that, there's still a level of perspective there that we're talking about a football game. But when you get mad about something like this, that's real stuff. Intentionally causing bodily harm to somebody because you're getting your ass kicked is inexcusable. And if Roger Goodell doesn't do anything to Stone Forsythe, then I would say let's go to New York, to the offices in NFL. I'm dead serious, because that's pathetic. But I do believe they will do something. I do. It's just annoying that it had to get to that point to begin with.
Mahomes down the middle, and he's got him. Hollywood for the touchdown.
The best thing about this game, we'll tell you what that thing is in just a few minutes. The best thing about the Chiefs game against the Raiders. But first, the mantra for the Chiefs has become EGE. Everybody's gotta eat. And that's a fun mantra, but it came to life against the Raiders. And what I mean by that is all you have to do is look at the stat sheet. Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, Brashard Smith, Tyquan Thornton, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Xavier Worthy all had 35 to 54 receiving yards, meaning that Patrick Mahomes is able to spread the ball out so evenly that hashtag EGE, everybody gotta eat, just became not only a saying, but it became personified. It became a personified message against the Oakland Raiders. I always say Oakland because I don't accept their move to Las Vegas. That's what we saw in this game. Everybody got to eat means everybody's getting touches, everybody's getting yards, and even a guy who didn't get over 35 yards, Hollywood Brown, he only got 14, he got in the end zone. So you want to talk about everybody eating? That's what that is. That's everybody eating. Patrick Mahomes is one of the only quarterbacks in the history of time that could have this many stars on his team and they all just go, yeah, I'm happy with whatever I get, because he's that dynamic of a leader and that special of a passer that he's able to go ahead and spread out the ball evenly for everybody, just like he did today against the Raiders. So yeah, everybody's got to eat. And on this Chiefs offense, everybody is devouring right now. That's got to get you more fired up than anything. They're devouring these teams. And as long as that energy keeps going, man, this is going to be a really tough team to beat. And they have a tough stretch. I think the Commanders will be easier. We'll get to that here in a bit. But there's a tough stretch. They got to play the Broncos, the Bills, and the Colts. Tough games, tough stretches. Right, because I think they got the Commanders, then the Bills, then a bye week, then I believe the Broncos and the Colts, then Thanksgiving against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys, we'll get to them later. Cowboys are suddenly a solid football team. Who knew? We'll get to that later as well. But everybody got to eat. Everybody's eating. in Kansas City. It's like a Thanksgiving feast every Sunday with Patrick Mahomes just passing out sides. Boom, we got the yams, we got the mashed potatoes, the green beans, and we got a little casserole too, just for Juju Smith-Schuster to make sure everybody remembers that Juju can put it on you at any time. That's how everybody's eating in Kansas City, and hashtag EGE came to fruition in full force against the Las Vegas Raiders. Patrick Mahomes is what makes EGE work, and now we're seeing what this offense can be, which is an unstoppable force in the NFL. We need a statue outside of Arrowhead. We've talked about it before, but we will talk about it again in just a few minutes about that specific statue that we are very excited about. Get to that in just a few minutes. I'm excited about it, guys. We're pumped. But first, this is a fun game. 31-0. It's a fun game. It's interesting. I feel like sometimes as Chiefs fans, it's hard for us to have fun. And what I mean by that is we are constantly filled with anxiety. And I talked about this on the midweek blitz, and I actually got a lot of response about it when I said that for my prediction, I never feel comfortable. I'm always worried. I always feel like, oh my God, something bad's going to happen. And when the Chiefs win, I feel a little bit more relief than I do happiness. That's true. And I think a lot of Chiefs fans are like that with me because we grew up with this. If you're a new Chiefs fan, good for you, man. I meet kids who are Chiefs fans, and I'm like, oh, you don't know the pain, and it's good for you, kid. You still have hope in your eyes. You still have happiness. Hold on to that with everything that you could possibly have. Because those kids don't understand the struggle. They don't know why we're so anxious all the time. They think we should chill out. So having fun, it's hard for us sometimes. But today was a fun win. As soon as they got the starters out, we didn't have to worry about anybody getting injured on purpose. Then it was a fun win, man. It was a blast, and the live was awesome. If you're on TikTok, if you're not on TikTok, come on just for the lives, man. I would do lives other places, but it doesn't necessarily work. On TikTok, we do the lives, and we have such a fun time. During the Chiefs game, I was also live watching both simultaneously, the Chargers and the Broncos, which we'll get to them here in a bit because it's a big day for the AFC West today. We'll do the AFC West roundup later. But you know what, man? You have to have a fun time. And we had a fun time watching that game. So please, come on the lives with us on TikTok, at Mike Bassano. We're having a good time. And that's important to remember when you win 31-0. As I was getting so many people reaching out like, so what do you think of the Commanders? I'm like, let's let the clock hit zeros first. Let's enjoy. We'll talk about the Commanders tomorrow, okay? Or later tonight. But for the moment, God, that was an enjoyable football game, man. That first half, every single time the Chiefs got the ball, they drove for a touchdown. Every single time the Raiders got the ball, they punted. You couldn't have scripted a better game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I think sometimes when that happens, we go, oh, well, that's what was supposed to happen. Yes, so what? By the way, what was supposed to happen was a 12-point Chiefs victory. 31-0, that wasn't supposed to happen. You got to enjoy that stuff, man. And it was a absolute blast. So thank you to the Chiefs for putting together a great performance for us so we could sit back and enjoy our Sunday and not have, the heart problems that we have a lot of times with this team, especially last year. Last year, it was like the cardiac every week. Oh, God, what's going to happen? They won every game by one score. It was always stressful. This year, Ravens, blowout. Raiders, blowout. Giants and Lions, decisive victories by multiple scores. Pretty nice. Let's go. So it's cool to see that happen with the Chiefs, man. We got to cherish that stuff and appreciate it. Now, there's one player for the Kansas City Chiefs who I can almost 100% guarantee everybody is getting traded. We'll tell you who that is coming up here in just a few minutes. But first, build Steve Spagnuolo his statue. The Steve Spagnuolo statue has to come, especially after a shutout. The first shutout in Andy Reid's career. The first shutout for the Kansas City Chiefs since 2011. The first big-time defensive performance of this season. In Spags, we trust, man. What Steve Spagnuolo does for the Kansas City Chiefs is such an unbelievably impressive feat. To go out against a Raiders team that I know was super banged up. And I know Geno Smith has been atrocious this year. But you have to understand how impossible it is to shut somebody out in 2025. It's impossible. Every single rule is built for the offense. Every single team builds around their offense because they understand the rules. So to have a team come into Arrowhead and get shut out by Steve Spagnuolo and that defense, oh, baby, that's got to get you fired up, and that has got to make you at least a little bit want that statue outside of One Arrowhead Drive that we've been talking about on Chiefs Chase for years. The Spag statue. We want it, and we're going to talk about it every time we get the chance. Because I want to see Steve Spagnuolo's statue right outside the stadium where it belongs. In all of its glory, the greatest defensive coordinator of all time. The man who took the Chiefs from an overly offensive team in 2018 that lost in the AFC Championship game to a Super Bowl champion just the very next year, and now a 3-time Super Bowl champion as the Chiefs defensive coordinator. I had to qualify that because he's got another one, the Giants. But as the Chiefs defensive coordinator, he's got 3. I'm putting that Steve Spagnuolo statue, even if I have to build it out of popsicle sticks myself and put it outside of Arrowhead. It'll be very small because I'm not good at arts and crafts, but I will build that Steve Spagnuolo statue, and I will put it outside because he called an insanely good game today, and I could say that almost every week that he's been in Kansas City as defensive coordinator of the Kansas City Chiefs. What an incredible performance by the Chiefs defense and by Steve Spagnuolo. He's awesome. He did an awesome job today. And that's all I have to say about that. Chris Jones, big sack. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. They just played phenomenal football today. They shut them down. I mean, look, that's an NFL football team. Those are millionaires. All right, I think this happens a lot. We discount teams. Oh, well, they're not very good. There's only 32 NFL teams, and all of them have guys who are multi-millionaire football players on them. So clearly, you could say, well, they aren't that good of a team. When you make 7 figures, you're a pretty good football player. And a lot of those guys make 8 figures. And the Chiefs still beat them and shut them out 31-0. That deserves all the credit in the world. I do not care about any qualifying statement you might have to say. The Kansas City Chiefs did an absolutely phenomenal job against the Las Vegas Raiders. And they put that hurt on them. They frustrated the Raiders so much that the Raiders purposely tried to hurt the Chiefs. That's what losers do. When they get beaten down, they're like, oh, I might as well hurt somebody since I can't play football worth a damn. That's what sad, pathetic losers do. And that's what the Chiefs pushed the Raiders to do by burying them in every conceivable way. Quick stats from the game before we get to the player who I believe is getting traded for the Kansas City Chiefs. Quick stats. The Chiefs had 30 first downs in this game. 30. 3-0. The Raiders had 30 offensive plays in this game. Should I say it again? Because it almost sounds like it's not real. It almost sounds like I made this stat up. The Chiefs got 30 first downs in this game. The Raiders ran 30 offensive plays. If you want the poster child for dominance in the NFL, that's it. Also, total yards. Based on the stat I just gave you, I bet you can assume the total yards were pretty lopsided. The Chiefs had a total of 434 yards against the Raiders. The Raiders had a total of 96 yards against the Chiefs. 434 to 96. Are you kidding me? I know that we can use the word domination 100 times in this show and it might lose a little bit of its zest. I understand that. I can overuse words sometimes in this world. That does happen. But that is domination by the Kansas City Chiefs. In every single facet, in every single word you could possibly come up with, the one word that keeps coming back is domination. The unstoppable force of the NFL got 30 first downs, and then they allowed 30 total offensive plays. If that doesn't tell you that the Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL, hands down, then I don't know what will. Geno Smith has played a long time in the NFL. The Chiefs made him look like he never played Pop Warner. That is how incredibly impressive the Kansas City Chiefs were in this game. And we got some left to get to here, including next week. What will happen in the AFC West breakdown and some NFL takes. But first, the one player that I believe is getting traded after today. After what I saw in this Raiders game, I 100% expect Isaiah Pacheco to get traded. Pacheco was being used in a way that I felt like they're either trying to give him confidence or they're trying to showcase him as a trade piece. And then, when the Chiefs sat all their starters, the only one that was still out there other than Kingsley at guard was Isaiah Pacheco. And they did bring him off eventually, but that made me believe 1,000% the Chiefs are looking at Pacheco as a potential trade piece, and they wanted to showcase him for other teams to show, look, he's a viable option. But if you were to trade Pacheco and a draft pick for an upgrade at running back, that would be a very prudent thing for the Chiefs to do. It's not some crazy idea to try to get an upgrade at running back when even against the Raiders at halftime, the leading rusher for the Chiefs was Patrick Mahomes. I know we all really like Isaiah Pacheco. We all really like him as a guy and what he's done for this team. But when your quarterback is your leading rusher through the first half of a game that you're blowing out the other team, there is an issue. And against good teams, that issue is going to come to fruition. So the Chiefs do need to look for a running back. And I saw the report this weekend that they weren't looking for a running back. They weren't shopping for a running back. I don't buy it. I don't buy for 1 second that the Kansas City Chiefs are not shopping for a running back in trades. I don't buy for 1 second that the Kansas City Chiefs are not looking to trade Isaiah Pacheco and a draft pick, maybe 2 draft picks, for an upgrade at the running back position. Because it just makes too much sense. Patrick Mahomes cannot be your leading rusher on a consistent basis. Even in the first half against the Raiders, he was your leading rusher. In a game you're winning by a blowout, he's your leading rusher. That's not something that's sustainable. You have to look for other options in that situation. And I 1,000% believe because of the way Pacheco was used against the Raiders, the Chiefs are looking at Pacheco and saying that's the guy that we're going to trade along with a draft pick for an upgrade at the running back position. My guess, Breece Hall from the New York Jets, who just went 0-7. He's a great running back, and he'll fit this Chiefs. Breece Hall will fit this Chiefs offense like a glove. He catches the ball out of the backfield very well. He has some shiftiness to him, but he has more size than a Brashard Smith. He's not a power running back, but you have Kareem Hunt for that. He is perfect for what this Chiefs team needs. Breece Hall is the guy. So I know I'm saying this over and over again, but the fact is, there's going to be a lot of teams trying to get Breece Hall. The Chargers are going to be in on Breece Hall. There's going to be a number of teams pushing for Breece. The Chiefs are going to have to give up, I think, Pacheco in a 3rd rounder and a 6th rounder, maybe 7th. And that will get you Breece Hall because it's just not going to be the only team going for him. And the Jets, he's wasted on the Jets. There's no reason for Breece Hall to be on the Jets. So he will get traded. I believe that 1,000%. Will he go to the Chiefs? I don't know. At a certain point, you go, do you want him to go somewhere else? The Chargers with Breece Hall, that's a worry. Right now, what we saw today for the Chargers, we'll get to it in the AFC West roundup, but I'm telling you, not that great without a great running back, are they? Justin Herbert can't carry that team. So in my mind, you have got to be looking for Breece Hall as a potential trade for the Chiefs, and I think Isaiah Pacheco will be part of that trade.
Ball on 1st and 20. Mahomes steps up on the run, and look who's wide open. It's Kelsey. And he lowers the shoulder at the Raider 40, and they've dug themselves out of a...
We will get to the AFC West breakdown as there was an absolutely bonkers game in Denver, Colorado today. That's why we waited a little bit to do the show, because we had to see how things played out for the Chargers and the Broncos. But we'll get to that in just a couple of minutes. First, though, the Chiefs, next week, they have the Commanders. Jaden Daniels looks injured again. And the Commanders, most of their offense is injured. They have just gotten incredibly unlucky. It's an unlucky team. They had a really lucky run last year. It took them all the way to the NFC Championship game. And before this season, I had that Commanders game circled, a potential Super Bowl matchup, Chiefs, Commanders. Now, because of injury to the Commanders, they have such a tough road to hoe, trying to beat anybody, let alone the Kansas City Chiefs. And at this point, the Chiefs should rock every team in the NFL. That should be the expectation for the Kansas City Chiefs, to rock every team in the NFL. Because when you're playing like this, when you're playing at the level the Chiefs are playing at right now, there is no team in the NFL that should ever make you worried. You should rock every opponent that you have. I don't care if it's the best team in the world in other people's eyes. I don't care if it's the worst team in the world in other people's eyes. The fact of the matter is that the Chiefs should rock every team they go up against when they play like this. Now that we've seen over the past 4 weeks or so, the Chiefs and their ability, when they're clicking on all cylinders, when they have the right game plan, when they have the right energy, and when everybody's playing together as a cohesive unit, they are an unstoppable force in the NFL that literally no team can touch. And as long as they keep playing like that, there's no team you should worry about. The Broncos have sole possession of first place in the AFC West. Who would you take? Chiefs or Broncos? I think anybody with a brain right now is taking the Kansas City Chiefs, because the Broncos barely beat the Jets by setting football back 100 years in London, and then they had to climb all the way back to beat the Giants the following week. So there's no world where I feel like we should sit there and believe that the Kansas City Chiefs shouldn't destroy. Destroy's big, but shouldn't rock every team they play. Name the team. You know what? There might be one. Now that I think about it, there might be one team that the Kansas City Chiefs should legitimately worry about. We'll tell you who that is coming up here in just a few minutes as we get to the talks around the NFL. We got a few teams to touch on. And then we'll get to that's after The AFC West breakdown. The AFC West has become a complete and utter catastrophe. I thought for sure we would be sitting here talking about the Chiefs holding one spot in first place, one of the tied places, holding a share of first place in the AFC West. I would have told you 3/4 into that Giants and Denver Broncos game, I would have told you absolutely the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be sharing first place in the AFC West after today. Why wouldn't they? Oh, I don't know, because Jackson Dart threw an unforgivable interception. They have a kicker that can't hit the broadside of the barn, and Bo Nix suddenly turned into John Elway for the fourth quarter. So as much as it pains me to say this in every single fiber of my being, the Broncos hold sole possession of first place in the AFC West. And I will say this for the Broncos. Most teams would have quit. Down the way they were down against New York, the bounces that were going against them, everything seemed stacked against the Denver Broncos to beat the Giants. And they dug deep, and they found it in the depths of their loins to pull through and win that game against the Giants. And yeah, the Giants screwed up. Their kicker can't hit anything. But still, you have to give credit. No matter how painful it is, you have to give credit to the Denver Broncos for what they accomplished today in Mile High Stadium. I'll always I said this on the live today because I did a live for the Chiefs game, and then I did a live watching both the Chargers and the Broncos game on separate screens. NFL Sunday Ticket, what's up? I'll say this. I will never say anything other than Mile High or Arrowhead unless I get paid to. They made it all about money. I'm going to make it all about money too. Pay me. Then I'll say GEHA Field. Pay me. Then I'll say whatever the hell they're calling that thing in Denver now. But until I get paid, it is Mile High and it is Arrowhead. So what they accomplished today in Mile High was an incredible performance by the Denver Broncos because they had to claw back after playing really crappy offensive football for 3/4. And they put up 33 points, guys. 33 points? I know the Giants aren't great, but to dig deep in that situation says a lot about your football team, and it's a thing that's going to really propel the Broncos forward. The AFC West, I'll just put it out there. The AFC West is going to be a fight, an absolute brawl between the Chiefs, the Broncos, and then you'll have, the little Chargers kind of tagging along like Scrappy-Doo. Let me at them. But they aren't a real contender. But the Broncos and the Chiefs, that is going to be a fight to the end in the AFC West. Because even though the Broncos came back against a not very good New York Giants team, they fought back through every piece of adversity you could ever possibly imagine. So because of that, and because of the steamrolling that we're seeing from the Kansas City Chiefs lately, it is collision course time in a few weeks for the Chiefs and Broncos, and it is going to be one of the most epic games in the history of this rivalry. Guaranteed. That was an unbelievable performance. Now on to the Chargers, who lost again. Here's why the Chargers are Scrappy-Doo. Here's why the Chargers are not a real contender in my mind. You can go back on my Instagram, my TikTok, anything, and you can see a video, a very, very high engagement video that a lot of comments came in from Chargers fans from when they were 3-0. When the Chargers were 3-0, I sat right here on the midweek blitz and I said the Chargers are fool's gold. They are not a real contender. They shouldn't have beat the Chiefs. They shouldn't have beat the Broncos. They should be 1-2 with a win over the Raiders instead of 3-0 with everybody crowning them as the champions of the AFC West. Remember at that time, they were 3-0 and everybody else was like 1-2, or maybe the Broncos were 2-1. I can't remember for sure. But everyone was crowning the Chargers at 3-0. And I said, they're fool's gold. They're not a good football team. And that will be shown. They will crumble. They will not sustain this because they're not a good football team. Since then, the Chargers have gone 1-3, with their only victory being a 2-point eke-out win against the absolute dumpster fire that is the Miami Dolphins. So I said it when they were 3-0, and I'll say it again. The Chargers are not a contender. They are fool's gold. They are an absolute joke of a team, and frankly, Jim Harbaugh should have stayed in college, where his little rah-rah kind of shtick, his little shtick of acting like he's real cool and everyone's friends, and now Justin Herbert should be a Hall of Famer. Oh, should he? Because last I checked, he threw a red zone interception against the Colts that a peewee quarterback would get yelled at for. So maybe Jim Harbaugh should have stayed there. John's not doing that great either, by the way. He's having a tough time in Baltimore. But I look at what the Chargers are. They are not a contender. And the Raiders are obviously not a contender. And frankly, I'd feel bad for the Raiders if they weren't the biggest pack of D-bags in the world trying to hurt people. If it weren't for that, I would actually feel bad. I'd be like, oh man, Raiders fans, they don't have a lot. They deserve better. I'd probably say stuff like that if they weren't out here trying to hurt people and having fans cheer for it online because they're pathetic pieces of crap. There you go. If you cheer for injuries, dude, that's not it. You got to know that. I mean, that's not reinventing the wheel. You're cheering for people to actually get hurt. Have you ever had an injury? You know how much it sucks? It's awful. So if you're doing that, man, not it. Now, on to the NFL. We'll get to the one team that I guess we got to start calling them a real threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. We'll get to them here in just a second. But first, the Cowboys are back on track. They look like an offense that could be explosive in every single game, that could put up 40 points on average every single game. With CeeDee Lamb back, with George Pickens, they're stacked top to bottom. And I'll say this, as much as I can't stand Jerry Jones, Micah Parsons is out here running his mouth, causing problems, and the Cowboys are winning football games. You gotta call it like you see it, and the Cowboys look pretty good. If they can consistently be good on defense, then the Cowboys are a contender. But that remains to be seen. They have a chance. But if they could just be average on defense, then yeah, the Dallas Cowboys are just as much of a contender as the Rams, the Eagles, or the Bucks. So look out for the boys, because they might be them boys. I don't want to speak too soon, but they could be them boys. God, I hate it so much. I think that Cowboys stuff is so cheesy, but you know what? It is what it is. They earned it. They won. Big win. Big win today. Crushing win, even. Against the Commanders. But I think, Jaden got hurt, so that changes it a little bit, and they're banged up. But that's why you look at what the Chiefs are going to do next week. They might put up 42. But at the same time, the Cowboys put it on them. I mean, you still have to go out there and put it on them. And Dallas did that. So you got to give them credit. They are on track. All right, one more thing that we've discussed a little bit, but I want to end the show with it because I think we could see some movement as of this week for the Kansas City Chiefs in the trade decisions. But first, the one team that really has to be seen as a real contender to rival the Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC this season, the Indianapolis Colts. Indiana Jones. They're actually playing really good football, and they're really crisp. And Danny Dimes is throwing with incredible accuracy. They look like a championship caliber football team. And I've been very hesitant to get on the Colts bandwagon. I've been very hesitant to call them for real. But at 6-1 and the performance they put against the Chargers, crushing Jim Harbaugh, this is a team that we have to take seriously. Whether we like it or not, they are forcing the NFL to buy into the Indianapolis Colts. and give Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, all the credit you can, because my goodness, what a turnaround, and how accurate and how good of a leader. What is this? Is this a world where people just get way better when they leave the Giants? Maybe. But I actually am venturing to say I think Danny just fits better in the Colts scheme. I think he fits better in the Colts culture, and I think he fits better in a place like Indianapolis than a place like New York. So I don't see the success of Indiana Jones as necessarily a detriment to the New York Giants as much as it is just a culture and scheme fit in Indianapolis. That's how I view it. And I think Danny, he looks so good, guys. He looks so good. I don't know how else to put this. Danny Dimes looks amazing at quarterback. And the Colts defense looks great. And all these guys you never heard of are making great catches all over the place. They're a contender. Throw the hands up. And I don't know how it happened. I never saw it coming this offseason. In fact, I don't know one person who thought the Indianapolis Colts were going to be a contender during the offseason. Yet we cannot deny what our eyes see. And what my eyes see is a phenomenal quarterback in Indiana Jones and a team in Indianapolis that can full-on compete, not just for the AFC South, but for the Super Bowl. I think they're the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the entire AFC, and the Broncos are number 2. All right, one more thing before we get out of here for Chiefs Chase. As the Chiefs destroy the trash Las Vegas Raiders 31-0, we're going to talk trades because, look, here's the deal, guys. The Jets are going to trade Breece Hall. I know we've touched on this a bit, but I want to end the show with this. The Jets are going to trade Breece Hall. The issue you have with not trading for Breece Hall is somebody else might get him. And that could be the difference between winning the Super Bowl and not winning the Super Bowl. And as we know, it is so hard just to get to a Super Bowl, just to have a shot to hold up that Lombardi trophy. So if you think there is one piece that could elevate your team or one piece that might elevate another team that you're competing with, you have to pay attention to it. And Breece Hall is that piece. It is going to be happening. So you either can be the guys taking him or you can be the guys letting him go somewhere else. But that is a massive, massive deal for the Kansas City Chiefs, is the landing spot of Jets running back Breece Hall. I want it to be in Kansas City, but no matter where he goes, it will be impactful to the title picture. And that is something that's very important to keep in mind. And that is my final thought. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being with me here on Chiefs Chase, for joining me on the lives, for your interactions, for your comments, for your likes, for everything you do. Thank you, because you make this the most fun part of my week. Every week, doing the lives with you guys, talking to you here. I enjoy this so much, and I'm going to do it till I'm dead. I don't care if I never make a dime. I don't care if 3 people are listening. If 3 of you are listening, 3 of you will get the absolute best show that I have in every possible way. And because I just love doing it. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this show. And thank you for spending a little bit of your time with me. Chiefs win 31-0. I'll keep posting throughout the week. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get your social media, I am there at Mike Bassano on everything. That is the tag for everything, at Mike Bassano. But if you're someone who just likes the long-form show on YouTube or Spotify, totally understand, and I will see you on the Midweek Blitz. Thank you so much.